Everyone dreams of living an uncommon life, and the best asset you have to achieve your dreams is you. Welcome to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. We're going to introduce you to people who are living uncommonly. We're also going to give you some tools and strategies for building wealth and for pursuing an uncommon path that is uniquely right for you.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast, where I'm your host, Philip Ramsey.
And I'm Aaron Kramer.
Thanks for tuning in. We have an amazing show for you today. I always say amazing. We have an extraordinary show today.
Yeah.
We're leveling up, and here's why. We have Ben Fust online.
Ooh, Ben.
Online, in studio.
Yeah.
Ben Fust. I hate bios. So I'm going to make Ben do his own bio. Ben, you've heard his voice before. He was part of the 100th episode of the Uncommon Wealth Podcast.
Yeah.
And now he's in studio. Now we get to pick his brain on many things.
If any of my skills can be categorized, it's random. And so I think the many thing is correct. Okay, so we're not going to overcook the fish on this bio. So rough cut of it. My name is Ben Fust. I do the turn the knobs around here. I'm the audio man
he is
for the Uncommon podcast here. I also have my own podcast called Live from the Path, which I stumbled into, have no particular skills in, but have kept up for a number of years.
Yes.
I'm a business architect, which is a fake job. I didn't make it up, but I did borrow it from like an emerging practice for Fortune something company.
Yes.
And so I do that. I'm also a house church pastor. And I think that's the cut of it. I think that'll
And a husband.
Husband.
18 years and 4 children.
Yes, 4 kids.
Good friend of mine. Fun fact, I don't know if we've ever said this, but we went to junior high together.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Actually, elementary school even.
Oh, you went to Altoona Elementary?
Yeah, I did.
Yes, you did.
You were in my 5th grade class.
Yes, came in.
And I'm telling you this right now. Here's the reason you remember Philip. Like, his hair has always been cool. And even in 5th grade, he sat down and like, that man has a cool set of hair. And I knew that. I also was convinced, because of his last name, that his family owned Ramsey Pontiac.
Oh, that's
and so like I was waiting for you to mention it, like it was going to come up in conversation. Like, oh, by the way, I drove here even as a 5th grader.
Yes. So we've known each other since elementary school.
Yes.
And still become friends. You are the only person from elementary school that I talked to. You can be like my oldest
about
friends.
you.
I know. Well, from elementary school.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for being on the show.
Yep.
There's a couple things I wanted to kind of pull out of you. The first one is you're kind of like Clark Kent is your day job, but you have had a passionate side gig. And you mentioned it. It's Live from the Path. It's a podcast that you run with you and your buddies.
Yep.
How long have you been doing that?
It will be, I think, 13 or 14 years.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Podcasting before podcasting was cool.
Yeah, actually, that's what's interesting. Someone asked this the other day, and I said, we were podcasting before podcasting was cool. And like now podcasting has been super cool, and we're still hanging out in the not cool realm because someone has to. And I said, well, might as well stay the line, you know?
That's not true. I don't listen to many podcasts, but whenever I tune into yours, I'm like, I listen to it far longer than I ever thought because you're just guys in a room talking about godly things that trying to apply the word of God into your life. And that's kind of how it started, right?
Yes. So, the crux of the show is just some fellas in a room having the conversations that people have trying to work out, like, what is it that we believe and how does it apply to our lives? A lot of stuff, from a Christian perspective, is people talking at you. And like, I love sermons. Like I said, I'm a pastor. I like studying things, but like, that stuff has to walk the ground, man. Like it has to raise kids. It has to fix things that I've broken with my wife. It has to inform how I go about and do my day-to-day work. And so like, what does that look like? And some of it's, how do we react to the stuff that's in the news? Like, how do I take this in? And a lot of times it's like a calm down. God's got this kind of thing under control. But like, how do we react prudently? And so we stumbled into it. There was a guy who had started a business where he wanted to like create podcasts. It basically is an advertising platform. So like you find real estate agents and all kinds of folks who are like, hey, which is this? Like it's pretty normal. It's a good way to do it actually. And so you come in, he had a studio and he would interview a bunch of people and then give them their own show. And so my pastor at the time and my brother ended up on a show just as an interview. And at the end of the show that they were on, the guy goes, hey, would you guys be interested in doing a radio show? And they said, yeah, we have no particular skills in this. Let's call Ben. And I also have no particular skills in this. But we said, sure, this sounds all right.
Your voice is dreamy.
Isn't it?
That's why.
I often speak to myself and I fall asleep. So maybe that's right. But like we we ended up on a 6 a.m. slot on a Saturday morning in downtown Des Moines. Like we had to open the studio. There was no one, you go in there. And we were on for 2 weeks, and then the whole thing blew up and shut down. Like the people who opened it were fighting.
Oh, wow.
And so one of the guys opens up something else, and so we go do a show for them, and we were doing like a 2-hour marathon podcast. And these were terrible, Aaron Kramer. They were, the first 30 minutes were edifying and good for the world, and the last 90 minutes were not. Like we're reaching for things to talk about because we have no concept of like, again, like long form podcast content. We're just talking in there. And so I would say the show has not got shorter really, but it has gotten better over time. And so anyway, translation, we just couldn't give it up because at the end of the day, I have a dedicated time most weeks to go in a room with some other fellas and be refined and encouraged and learn and laugh.
And then try to figure out how to apply scripture into your life.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing that I think is cool, because you can take the word of God and you can start doing your devotions by yourself. And what I think is powerful about this is you're like, I have a group of people that maybe calm me down.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm over tightly wound over this one thing, it's a really good concept. And then you just invite people in to like listen to that. And one thing you said before the show is you don't edit anything. So like if it's a hot mess, welcome to the show. Which I appreciate. Like you are really a fly on the wall with good buddies that are talking and challenging and pushing themselves to know and follow Jesus even more. It's a great show. Great concept. Fantastic. And it's been your side project for quite some time. 13 years.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. So you have this full-time job.
Yes.
And then you have this side thing. Has it ever produced any money? This is what I wanted to kind of talk through.
Yes and no. So like we made money, but we spent it. So when it came,
my life story.
I brought some in and then there it went. So originally when we started as a podcast, and then we had kind of thought, hey man, we should go on terrestrial radio, which is weird because I mean it's kind of dying, and so but we go, hey, we could probably get on here because the standards are going down, and so we contacted. There was a local Christian radio show, and this guy was awesome. And we said, look, we're interested in having a show. But Christian radio is pay to play, man. If you're on there, you're paying. It's not like they go, we think you're great. Here's a show. They're like, where's our money? Now, whatever, we were paying the low amount. But anyway, so we got sponsors and stuff for that. We raised money specifically to try to do what we were always trying to do. Like, it wasn't in my mind. It wasn't even conceivable to me to make money doing what we were doing because it felt primarily for me. You guys are going to know why this is wrong, right? You're going to hear it like this is the wrong way to think about it. But like in my mind, it was, this is primarily for my benefit. I hope people are encouraged and built up by it. But like, it's not straight laced enough for someone like serious to go put money into this thing. Cause like we say some ridiculous things. Nobody's running for political office ever. Because if you get a raw show with 2 hours, a guy, like I've said all kinds of things. We just had our 500 show. And one of the things we said was like, are there things you wish you could take back? And like everybody in the room was like, oh yeah. Oh man. We have said some terrible things, like things that I would be embarrassed to have said, but like, that's how people live. You go around, you try to do your best to say something bad, and you go, shoot, man, I got to refine that. Yeah. So anyway, so we made some money for a time specifically to try to keep the show on the air. And then that station kind of closed down or moved. And like, we thought, well, I mean, we need to keep up the internet site and I do most stuff for free. I kind of hodgepodge stuff together. So it costs real cheap. And so we stopped.
Right.
Yeah. That's the run of it.
Right. It's cool. I had a podcast with Nadine Habaker. She was one of the older guests we've had on the show, and she was an artist. She's an artist, like she does. And I was like, how do you get paid to do art? And she's like, what? Like, I don't know. I just love to paint, and people keep paying me. I don't know. It seems a little bit like you guys are just passionate about what you do. Yeah. It doesn't really matter about the money.
Right.
And in that, you guys are doing it, and you've been doing it for 13 years. So there could be a longer runway because people are just passionate. Yeah. And maybe that's your payment. Like, I know that you've made some money. Yeah. But that's not the primary goal.
Right.
And for me and the people who have side gigs and this whole uncommon wealth and this path that people go on, sometimes it's just because they're passionate about it. And it doesn't have to be monetarily bringing in a lot of money, or that they have to even quit their day job. Yeah. They can just keep doing it because it's giving them life. They feel like it's awesome. Yeah. And they're learning more than they ever have, and they're excited about it.
Yeah. That's one of the challenges. It's a great challenge in my life, but like like the people of Jesus have got fun stuff to do all over the place. And so I have a hard time bowing out of stuff. I'm like, well, I mean, this podcast is fun. It's awesome. It's enriching. And like people like it and are getting something out of it. And that's great. And then like, I have a day job and there's people there who need built up. And there's people there where like a way of looking at the world is helpful there, just like it's helpful all over the place. It's helpful in the church as a pastor. It's helpful raising your kids. It's helpful coaching a softball team. And so like, it's sometimes it's the harder thing is to go, maybe I'm going to say no to that. The people of Jesus are everywhere. Someone else can probably do this piece. But like, because there's an opportunity to be helpful. As a matter of fact, I'm on the LinkedIn. You guys on the LinkedIn?
Yeah, I'm on the LinkedIn.
I have a real problem. Like
the LinkedIn?
Well, so like, I can't remember what got, I was trying to, I did a children's book with my daughter. And for some reason, I'm like, I should be on the LinkedIn. And so I get on there and I call it the LinkedIn. That's how you know I don't use it correctly. But like, I was going around and looking at all these bios that people have. And like some people that I know or even work with, and I'm reading this thing. I'm like, this does not, what is this?
Right.
This does not explain you at all. Yeah. Like who wants to be in the mindset that you're constantly applying for a job? And I get to use LinkedIn for that, but like what a scarce way to live. And I probably thought on it for 3 or 4 days and I thought, I don't know. And I ended up with like trying to be useful. That's my LinkedIn, because that's it. Like, that's actually the right, like, I don't care where I go or where I'm standing or who I'm around. Like, can I be helpful here? Mm-hmm. And again, it opens you up to a wide breadth where you're like, well, I could be helpful over there. Should I be? Right. And so side hustles get when you're open to all the opportunities and ways of which God might use you in life. Sometimes the harder thing is figuring out what do I not do? Because there's so many.
What do I say no to?
Yeah, exactly right.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly right.
I gotta ask, like, because I know you guys know each other, so you guys are easy
from elementary school.
Yeah. I just met you today.
We go with.
But like, how do you balance all this? I've heard now you do 3 things. Like you work full time. You're an engineer. You're a pastor.
Yep.
You're a podcaster.
Yeah. Yep.
But then like, well, I guess the 4th thing, the biggest thing is you're also a family man.
Yep.
How do you balance all this? I have one job. Don't really have a hobby in the family, and I am just like
he does have a hobby. I mean, he's huge.
Yes.
He obviously has some kind of hobby.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, I had to move to my garage so I could keep doing it.
I think if I'm being honest, it's a right constant question. Like, are these things in appropriate balance? Now, here's what the cool thing is. So I'm a house church pastor. And so it's, get out of your mind, like weirdness. This is people doing the things that the people of Jesus have always done. Every church that's mentioned in the New Testament is a house church. People meet in churches.
Wait, hold on. Pause, because you guys are really knowledgeable here.
Yeah.
Can you like define what's
a house church?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Listen, you're gonna be disappointed in what I'm gonna say.
No, I won't.
A church is a gathering of people.
Yeah.
And we do it in a house.
Okay.
That's it.
Cool. It's super simple.
That's what I'm saying. It's a rough cut of it. And so I was a pastor. I was executive pastor at a church in Johnston. It was a great experience. But what I found, and this goes along some with what I do as a day job, but like I was trying to simplify something. Like there seems like a lot of wheat and chaff here. Yeah. And there's a lot of things, frankly, that the church gets involved with that I'm like, I mean, I'm not sure we actually do this very well. Like the thing we have to offer the world is Jesus. That's it. Oftentimes the bar down the street, the gym, all kinds of places are better at relationships. Yeah. Because like you're in there for something communally. Sometimes the church postures itself. We're trying to sell you something.
Yeah.
And here's the deal. I want to be part of I have an awesome gift. Something's been exposed to me that I can otherwise share with other people. And I desperately want to share that. But like sometimes our church infrastructures are built to kind of like put 3 people through a sales process.
A business.
Welcome. Right. Here's the class. Here's the path. Here's the 10 things you can do. Here's your gifts. Plug it all in. And like, I just felt like, 1, maybe I'm not competent to the task of pastoring in an environment like that. But then 2, like what did the folks that were closest to Jesus, what did their stuff look like? And it looked like people living communally and meeting in houses, as many as they could pack in, people falling out of windows asleep because there's so many folks packed in the top room, right? And so I thought like, is it possible that this works? Can it still work in our context? And it's not right. Don't look at like the first century wasn't implicitly holy. Yeah. Jesus was in it, but like it doesn't make it that their lifestyle is better than ours. But the question is, was it working? And it explodes, right? So the Christianity explodes where people are meeting and living together. The things they believe and the things that they do match. And then frankly, society changes where, one of the biggest rises, there's a great book called The Rise of Christianity by Rodney Stark. And like, one of the things he walks, he's like, how is this possible? How you go from 12 guys, 11, and the thing explodes.
thousands.
That's exactly, and it's things like when the plague happens, where the world runs away, the people of Jesus ran in. Because what sticks with people is that somebody goes, look, there's somebody who needs help, and we're
somebody
going
to the trenches.
That's right.
Yeah. And shepherding people.
And there's many Christians that died doing that. But like, who remembers that? The guy who was served by the Christians running in, and his family, and his family, and his family. Because the things that we believed and the things that we said matched. And like every major collegiate institution, home for like mentally ill folks, orphanages, like school systems, hospitals, almost all were started by Christians, right? Core institutions that go to serve people, okay? So the question was, if all that is born out of this, what seems like a more like a looser structure that doesn't require, frankly, some of the hard things about being a pastor. I'm getting to answer your question.
Yeah.
The background was helpful. So, but the reason being is like one of the key problems or difficulties of being a pastor is like you ask him not to be like a guy who knows scripture and a guy who loves and spends time with people. He owns a business. He's got to like keep the pipes running, right?
Yeah,
and you have to it does. You don't want it to, but you look out and go, hey man, there's half the people here this weekend than were there last weekend. There's a monetary consequence, and I thought like I just want nothing to do with that.
Well, it's funny because I know your personality.
Yeah.
If you're executive pastor trying to streamline and make things more efficient, eventually you're like, and I'm going to work myself out of a job.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I could see where that didn't work out.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And so one of the things then, when it comes to being a house church pastor, I have a responsibility to the people in our church. They have responsibilities to me. I have a particular focus. There's no hierarchical thing there. It's just a specific thing. God has given me, like I teach. It's my job to teach and do pastoral work within our congregation. But like we have no structure for that. And so like, yes, I spend time reading mostly it's generally Saturday night. I'm not like 15, 20. I used to spend 15 hours preparing a sermon. I'm probably down to two to 3 hours, like praying throughout the week, 2 to 3 hours of studying, making sure that I've poured all the right stuff in, so that we can talk about it the next day. But like all that means is that I don't have to separate my normal life, full life from my pastoral work.
Right.
I don't have to carve it off. The podcast work, it takes me away, but like, if I were to say, look, every Monday night,
but you're talking about the same thing.
Exactly.
Right? You're not duplicitous and like, this is how I live my life. Exactly. My full-time job.
Yeah.
This is how I pastor my church, and this is how I do my podcast.
Yes.
This is a theme throughout your life.
They're not buckets, they're bundles.
Yes.
Everything actually goes to some of the stuff that the previous podcast here, like we're talking about like integrity, things like being the same, not divided. Well, my life isn't really divided if I'm living it well. It's just applied. Here are the things, skills, attitudes, thoughts,
right?
And now they relate to the podcast. Now they relate to the time I spend with my family. And like, I'm always trying to do better at this, but like, how do my daughter, my oldest daughter was on the podcast a couple weeks ago. So she's been on there a few different times. There's ways that they can get involved. Every once in a while, my kids will help me edit yours. And so like, there's things where they can be separate, or how can I pull them together? Mm-hmm. And so now don't feel, there's not a judgment in there. Like there's things like that you have to do on your own, right? Like if I'm going to do, so if I work out, I can do it with my wife. I actually find that I feel better about it if I'm not around her when I'm doing it. But just in general, I think that's the right way to think about it, is like balance should be a constant, humble thought and prayer in your life, and letting other people say, like my wife should be able to say, hey, I think this is off a little bit, or we're feeling like we're missing you this week, or something like that. But I think that's the way I try to think about it, is like, how can I best integrate the things and not have them feel separate?
So that's the thing when we were putting it together, and Philip talked about it, it's like, and you start looking at other people that are like yourself, that have all these like balls in the court and they're juggling it so well, but really what it is like they intertwine so well.
Yeah, that's right.
So they're not just like these 180.
It's how God's uniquely gifted you.
Yeah.
And people can interweave many different things that I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
I'm not gifted that way.
Yeah.
But some people are, right? And it's very natural for them.
Yeah.
And it's not like this, I have to put on a different hat here and then this hat, like that I think is unsustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. But like, I think there is a personality to it too, that, so if this is a skill, let's say that's a skill, this is good, this is a positive, there's always a converse. There's always something that says on the other side of that, what that means is like, I often don't go super deep on any given thing. So like where some people can get like a really good focus and like these people are changing the world because it like, that's what their world looks like. my stuff tends to peanut butter out. And so there's always a risk to me that feels like, is this getting, not only is it a time thing, but like,
effective.
Is this thing working at its best because of the amount of time that I can give it? Like if I only gave this more focused, yes, but I would have to give up something over here. And I generally, that's why this is what's difficult. So like, I like to work on podcasts. I love audio editing. I have a background in it. And my show is a terrible example. If I was going to go, hey, I'd like to do podcast editing for you, check out my show, it's not a good one because because it's so long, I won't edit it. I won't chop it up. If the audio is not great, I might just start the show and go, hey, I think the audio was a little bit dumpy this week. Bear it out if you want to. Because
I witnessed that. I'm like, oh, that's wrong.
Oh, But like that's my boundary for that show. And either if it's not endearing to you, then our show may not even be the right show for you, and I'm okay with that too.
Right.
But like that is that's the other side of that coin. And so I may not be the guy who changes the world in any particular thing that I'm focusing on because of the things that I'm balancing. And so there's not I guess my caution is that like, oh yeah, look, he can balance all the things, but like it doesn't mean there's not a righteousness in someone who's got like a focus that they just rock at. It's just different.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's my first point that I wanted to pull out, is the side gig necessarily doesn't have to be something that monetarily brings in money. That's okay, right?
Yeah.
As long as you're still getting life from it, it can be sustainable. 13 years, still run us.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is your faith, these buckets that are like you're putting on different hats.
Yeah.
But you are in a secular full-time job.
Yes.
How do you integrate your faith inside the workplace? I think this is fascinating.
Yeah.
I just came from a conference yesterday. It was called the Unconventional Business International.
Yeah.
And the unconventional was that they wanted to bring faith in the workplace.
Yeah.
There was a whole bunch of business owners, a lot of people in this, which was fun to see.
Yeah.
And the overarching theme that I thought was like, are these people really being good witnesses? Or are they just, quote unquote, trying to bring Jesus into the workplace? And I would love to know their employees, what they interpret as faith. Mm-hmm. And is it a good representation of who Jesus is, or is it actually harming employees? And that's what I was like, overarching theme. There was a keynote speaker he was talking about like, what is the fruit that you've brought out of your life in your faith? Okay, great. But like what I really wanted to say is like, you guys, we have a big responsibility here.
Yeah.
Because if we're the ones who want to bring faith into the workplace, then we have to be good stewards of that. And we have to ask for forgiveness when we screw up.
Yep.
And we have to be a good representation of Jesus.
Yep.
Because we could really hurt somebody here.
Yes.
I'm a Christian, and then you're just slaying people. There's wakes of bodies behind you, and like, I want nothing to do with that kind of religion and faith.
That's right.
And so that's why I say, and I think that you probably are going to be a really good advocate for, your faith has to come into your workplace. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have a cross on the door. Mm-hmm. And so tell me how you integrate your faith in your workplace, because you can't take out faith in Ben and all this stuff.
Right.
And your Fortune company.
Fortune X company, yeah.
Fortune X. So how do you integrate it is my question.
So like the key thing is to not suppress it. So I am who I am. I believe when I believe, I think when I think. I look at the world in the way that I do, shaped by the goodness of God. And so I think sometimes we feel like there's a burden, again, to become the advertising agency. Like, do I have to put a cross? Would I normally put a cross on my door? Would I normally make he is risen my background of my Zoom call? Like, I wouldn't do that. Because it's shallow. Like, I'm not interested in as long as you know that I'm a Christian, like that's great.
Yeah.
Like,
I
don't need other people to buy in so that I feel good about the thing that I believe. I believe it because I think it's true, and I think it matters, and I think it changes the world, right? And it's
changed your life.
Yes. Right. And if I think all those things, how could it not
affect you? Right.
Right. Now, it's the same reason when the guy who delivers the mail, I don't just run him down and go, hey, I was reading in Acts today, because that's not a normal
transaction,
human interaction.
Right.
That's right. It's actually one of the things, the burdens that we've got. This is true in the church. I think it's true beyond that. But we've taken a very heavy burden of feeling like we have to kind of psychologize people. But what will connect with them? And there's a wisdom in I care about people enough.
There's a time.
Know what fits.
Right.
Yes. But it's way different if you're like sitting there plotting and going, here are the three.
Leading the witness,
yes.
as they say.
This is why I'm out. I'm out on the fog. I'm out on the lights. I'm out on the things that try to manipulate me to feel something that needs to come from clear relationship with Jesus, movement of Scripture, Holy Spirit doing things in my life. Like I don't want you to help me with a manipulation. Now, there's all kinds of righteous things that might come from that. So again, don't hear me wrong, but like I don't feel like I have a need to have to conjure up a way to sell a vacuum Jesus to somebody. So what it means then is when I go to work, I should be living my faith out the way that I would every other time. It should apply to the meeting that I'm going to be in. Do people around me know that I'm a pastor? Yeah, they know that.
But you're not shouting it from a rooftop.
Right, because that is the dismissal of another human. They don't come to me and go, "Hey, here's what I do in my also time," like and yell at me. Like that would be weird. It disrespects another human.
Yeah.
But they know that because
It's not natural interaction.
Right.
Hey, my name's Philip Ramsey. I play Ultimate Frisbee. Like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember that I play Ultimate Frisbee? Can I tell you about my Ultimate Frisbee journey?
Yeah.
Now, but it's whenever you get one step in, two steps in.
Hey, what are you passionate about?
Exactly.
Let me tell you.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
but like, I mean, you guys are way farther along in your faith than I am. Like, I'm like the newbie over here. It feels like, in comparison to you guys. But like, it is like when you go, like, there's a couple red flags I have when I meet like somebody and they're like, "Oh, hi, my name is so and so. I'm a Christian."
Mm-hmm. You've met people like that? I don't know if I've ever met anybody that says that.
Well, it's kind of, I don't know that actually that's how it goes. It's what it feels like.
It feels like,
so,
yeah.
Right.
When we start talking about who they like, they want to throw that in so fast to almost to prove like, "Hey, I'm a good person because I'm a Christian."
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I don't think that works that way. And now I don't think you're a good person.
Right. It should,
Yeah.
It shouldn't. But I would say that my favorite compliment is somebody's like, "Hey, something just seems different about you."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wow. Like, that's not of me, for the record. Like, that's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
Or, like, normally that's you, or you're different, like you're an idiot. It's basically, it could be it too. But they're like, "Listen, something just feels different about you."
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like, can we talk? Like, yeah, we sure can.
Yes.
What a compliment, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. A lot of people, they wouldn't even know that the reason that they feel that way is related to the fact that you love and serve Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Like they wouldn't know that. This happens to me quite a bit. Like, "Hey, I just want to get your thoughts on something."
Right.
And like, when I say you gotta not suppress it, like it should always influence the key things that are going on. Influence how you talk to your employees. One of the aims of my department, it's boring, the whole thing, but like as a business architect, we have a macro view of the world. Our job is to look at all the things and make sure we're all talking about them in the same way, open up the ways of which people are talking past each other, and then like try to document our business in such a way that like you can find where this part of the business wants this thing, this part of the business wants a different thing, and we go, "Hey, that's the same thing, sames." Okay, and so, but what I end up doing is you interact with all kinds of people trying to accomplish all kinds of things, and like there's all kinds of ways in which I could say, well, here's the aim of our department, but the aim of our department is to how can I make that other person look good? Like how can I help them? Our job is to help them succeed in whatever it is that they're doing, and I want them to look good doing it, and like we can fade in the back. That's a Christian way to go, man.
Sure.
You humble the way around, and you try to make sure that like if the light's going to shine on someone, it'll fall on somebody else.
You be Luke Skywalker. I'll be Yoda.
Which is fine.
Go get him.
Right. And so like, but there's all kinds of ways that we could frame our part of the work and go like, we want to dominate the world. I'm like, I want to make sure the world's spinning in the best possible way. And people who spin it have got the best things at their disposal to make decisions to do it. And so like, I like that. Because it doesn't put me, this is where like working in at an office job or a secular job, like you're going to find contentious things and you're going to find people who are trying to accomplish things in ways that you wouldn't, who are going to put you in positions that you're going to like, boy, it would be most beneficial for my career to do X, but like it would take my life to do X. And so I'm not going to do that. It's interesting. I've not applied for a job I've been in the same place for 21 years. I've probably had 6 different positions and I haven't applied for one of them. Hey Ben, where do you want to go in your career? I don't know. I want to be useful. Yeah. Now,
read my LinkedIn.
Yeah. See? And so like, but here's the thing, career-wise, I probably could be higher up somewhere. I probably could be making more money, but like, I just don't want it feels like lack of ambition, but it's not. It's like, I look at the world and go, look, I want to be helpful. And if you're telling me that I'm the most helpful right now doing this thing, like, okay, Because I'm just going to take the same set of skills, way of viewing the world, care for people, and I'm going to apply it here.
Job.
I don't care when you, right? It doesn't really matter what I'm doing.
Right.
And so I'm less caught up in it.
Which it is, because a lot of people put their identity in that. That's the interesting thing. And that what you're saying is like, that's not my identity.
Right.
Super good.
Super good. This is great. Like coming from somebody that's not like on your guys' level of like Christianity, and like hearing you guys talk about how to put it in to like the actual world, like is exactly what I think a lot of people need to hear that aren't, and then are also very weary of like hearing it, because like it is like there was a guy in town that was a financial advisor. He had a big cross on his in his office, huge cross, and ginormous, like did a huge amount of production. He went under because got his license pulled, and they were like,
oh wow,
crummy.
Yeah.
Right?
Shady is.
But advertised like crazy
that he was a believer.
You know?
Yeah.
That he was a believer. It's like, but here you guys are saying the exact opposite.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, no. You will make everybody else like them the shining light, and then like they should just see it through your actions.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. That's a huge warning sign when somebody's like, yeah, this is me. I'm a Christian. Like, it could be. It could not be. Right. But to me, it's like the actions over time that you witness that are like, wow, that's attractive, right? Because I believe like Jesus was the ultimate winning others over, and he would do it in such a way that like, no, I'll also point out sin. Yeah, but in that I'll win it over. Like I love you so much, we need to talk about
this. Is what I'm saying. Yeah, like people. So I think we're built for this. I think we're built for this type of relationship with other people in the same way we're built for this type of relationship with God. You're built to have someone who can say, look, and even all your failures and fallibilities, I still love you. I would still die for you, sacrifice for you, and I have. In those fallibilities, they're harming you. It wasn't what I created for good. And so I'm going to tell you. I want to make sure you know, because why would you? You wouldn't do that to your own kids or see somebody else who's failing and causing their own trouble in life. You go, hey, you wouldn't just let them go, because how disassociative and dismissal is that to go, dude, you're really screwing it up and I don't care.
I don't care.
Right. What a crappy thing to do. And so like, it's such a weird thing, because we've had this conversation with some people in the past, and they're like, dude, it feels like you're dodging your faith. I said, no, I'm living it out genuinely. Like I said, it's going to come up. It's going to come up in our conversations that like, I love and serve Jesus. It's going to come up, or like, I don't mind saying in a Zoom call with 50 people on it to go, hey man, I'll certainly be praying on you for that. Like, because that's what I'm going to do. I'm not saying that for their benefit. It's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And so like, fake is not effective. Jesus wasn't fake. The work of God throughout history and time was not fake. These were real people, real situations, real love, real sacrifice, real God. And so like fake, we don't need to come up with a better advertising program than what God has set out as being true and good. And so we're going to go about that. And it means that you love God and you love people, and you when we say humility, it doesn't mean think of yourself. Don't think less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less often. Just like having people and saying, look, how can I, when you build other people up, like it's one of the gifts of the kingdom. Yeah. Like when you go out and do the things that God has told you to do, you get enriched by it.
Yes. Which is so countercultural to what's happening now.
Yes.
And you are getting more and more people depressed because, what's your inner happiness?
Yeah.
Keep focusing on yourself. Keep this wild ride.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, like, but who are you? Like, stop. Like, what if it isn't about you?
Yes.
What if it's about serving other people?
Yeah.
What if it's about making somebody else happy, and in that, finding your own joy?
Isn't that funny? Because we have like studies on that, on showing how we can prove the fact of the happiest people in the world are the people that are serving others.
Yeah. Oh man, for sure. And so this is why I think, coming back to uncommon wealth, like if I won the lottery, guess what I'd be doing tomorrow? Yeah, the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Ta-da! Because like it's not really about the money, and I think that's like one of our like secret sauces here at Uncommon Wealth. It's like, no, we care about people and what they want to do with their life. Yeah, well, we'll use your money as a tool, but at the end of the day, like, but what is it that would get you excited? And what's going to get Ben excited? What's going to get Aaron excited is going to be different than what gets me excited.
Yeah.
Or it could be the same thing. I don't know, but like, let's talk through that. And there is so much joy about pulling people's like inner excitement out, and watching the like lights start turning on again, them starting getting excited. My favorite question to ask when somebody's talking about something they're passionate about is like, how long have you been talking about this? And they'll always underestimate the time that they've been talking because they're actually excited about it.
Yeah.
When the spouse is like, well, like, I think for like a year, and the spouse, you like see the face and it's like, try 5.
Right. So that's what's so cool. And I love that you're so passionate about your side gigs. But really it's all the same passion.
Yeah.
Right. And that's really what brings you to where you're at. So you can have all these different places, all these different kind of hats you put on, but they all are the same person.
Yeah.
That's always what I've valued about you. And you're just authentically winning people over for Jesus, because that's who you are.
Yeah.
That's a win.
And I guess that's the thing, is that like, I don't even know what it would be like to try to be someone else. Like, I'm bad at it. This is the other thing I'll tell you. And anything that I've ever got my hands in, I'm a terrible marketer. Like, I'm not a good marketer. I'm not a good salesman. I don't know how to do it. And like, part of that is just like, because it's asking the question, like, what would tickle their fancy? I'm like, I don't know. So like for in our house church environment, like I don't do like Ben's sermon series on anger. Like that seems like a lot of me. And me trying to stretch, like, and tie things together. And so, like, there's some guy, now here, don't hear me wrong. There's some people who do this very well, and I'm always impressed. I'm also a terrible anecdotal storyteller. Now, random stories that, like, seems like it's going to build up and then dies off, like, I'm great at that. I do that.
I can do that, yeah.
See, Aaron,
I got you there, man.
But, like, there's some pastors that are just so good. They tell such a great, so it's like, that's a wonderful example. I'm not good at that. I read the thing that we're supposed to teach this week, and I go, here's what's going on around it so you can understand it. Here's probably what it's getting at, and like, here's probably how we should apply that. But like the stuff that really helps people, I wish I was better at it, but I'm not. But some of that just comes on, like, it feels, at least from my perspective, it feels like it's asking me to be inauthentic, because I feel like I'm having to conjure something up.
Yeah.
But that's for me. Some people are like I said, really good at this, and it's an awesome skill because you help connect people to things that they would miss because you knew how to say it. And like I said, I think that's okay from broader macro context. Right. But like I said, fake is not effective here. Like, people know when you're being real with them. I think, frankly, this is where the church has struggled, is that we were, a lot of stuff, it's treating people like we're on the same advertising block as the billboard down the street. And like, I just, again, you can chuck it all, and Jesus is the thing that makes any of this different. And like, if we're not leading with what that is and the truth of that and the reality of those things and how it impacts our lives, then like, there are people who do all the other functions of the church better. Mm-hmm. They just do.
So true. Right. So this is my overall reason why I wanted you on the phone. Just be authentic. Be authentic in your side gigs. Be authentic in your career. Be authentic. And what you'll find is you'll be way more happy. Mm-hmm. You won't have to, oh no, I got to be this person for that. Like, no, this is who you are.
Couldn't keep track of stuff.
And here's the deal. At the end of the day, people are going to like you or people aren't going to like you.
Yeah.
But that's okay. Right? You don't need everybody to love you.
Yeah.
You just need to be authentic to you. And what I find that for myself, when people are authentic, no matter how quirky or different they are, I value that. Like, I'm in. What can we do?
Yeah.
So anyway, Ben, thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, Ben, this is great. Like, I really want to say quick though, like, Billy, I know you said like I'm not the one, like, I'm the peanut butter, like, no, I don't go too deep. I'm not gonna change the world. I'm like, I think like you gotta, like, I'm just gonna say this because I know you won't say it to yourself because like that's your personality that I've learned, but like, you are changing the world in the sense of like you being the beacon of light for so many people.
Yeah.
You're being that peanut butter for people. It's like you think about like Jesus spread the word. Like he helped with 12 guys. Was it 12 guys?
Yeah. So let's start with 12 and they lose the guy and then it gets better.
Well, yeah, but like, and then you go change the world out of 12 guys.
Yeah, totally.
If you help, like, you know, if you get 6 or 12 or 24, you help that many people and like be their beacon of light, like you are changing the world.
You know, so I'm glad that you said that because I think that's the right encouragement for folks who feel like you don't have like a particular thing that you rock at.
Yeah.
But you're just taking your life and you're trying to live it in all the different expressions and experiences. Is that like, you're right. I like when I think of it, I don't think like I'm not revolutionizing podcasting, but like in every place that I have, you have relationships to build and you have like true things that can be said that can help and see the world correctly and separate wheat from chaff. And like to the extent that you can be part of that in anybody's relationship, the cumulative nature of humans living in community and doing that for each other, it does ultimately change the world.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly the right thing to say. That's more clearly said than what I had said. So that's
no. I just want to make sure. You know that you're making a big difference. Yeah.
So I hope this is encouraging to you, our listeners. Thank you for being on the show. Ben, thank you for listening. Aaron, great job. You've been listening to the Uncommon Wealth Podcast. I've been your host, Philip Ramsey.
And Aaron Kramer.
Until next time, go be uncommon. Thanks for listening.
That's all for this episode, brought to you by Uncommon Wealth Partners. Be sure to visit uncommonwealth.com to learn more about our services. Don't miss an episode as we introduce you to inspiring people who are actively pursuing an uncommon life.